Happy sunny Monday, everybody. Greetings. Hello. I'm hoping some people will join on this live, especially parents. But I'm also hoping that some children even might join in. Maybe, should I say, some young adults, teenagers who are on Facebook. I've never actually... Hi Peace, thanks for joining. I've never actually taken note to see if my lives are ever followed by the young adults, teenagers, or by children. Because at the end of the day, Community Integration Hub is about families. It's about everybody in the community. We might look at the word literary and think community, it means like a neighborhood. But I think communities start from families. And being in September, counting down to October, the subject that's really on my mind, if you've been following this month, has been building awareness on domestic violence, on domestic abuse. And when I talk about communities, it kind of then broadens the meaning of that subject called domestic violence. Many people think domestic violence is only about a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or partners if people are living together and they're not married. I don't know why, I don't know what that is called formally, but I think a lot of people call it being partners. But I think domestic abuse, domestic violence has a ripple effect, and it doesn't only affect husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. If you think of the literal meaning of the word domestic, domestic is about a household, isn't it? It's about a home front. And a home front, a household, is made up of not only husband and wife. It's made up of husband, wife, children, sometimes grandchildren, sometimes sons-in-law or daughters-in-law. For those families that live in one household is an extended family. I know there are some cultures that do that. Some Asian cultures do that. So that means your domestic affairs is quite broad. And my passion building awareness about domestic violence is to get people to think of this subject in broader terms rather than just restricting it to husband and wife or to a couple. Let's put it that way, a couple. And yesterday I was thinking, I've done a lot of talk about domestic violence in terms of husbands being violent against their wives or girlfriends, and vice versa, sometimes wives being violent towards their husbands or girlfriends being violent towards their boyfriends. But I actually am coming today feeling a little bit guilty. Actually, no, a lot, if I'm gonna be honest. I'm feeling a lot guilty because there's a forgotten tribe that I have not talked about. I have mentioned here and there children, but that was actually in terms of just correcting some myths about why people stay in abusive relationships, why people stay in abusive marriages, why people stay in abusive domestic settings. Today I'm talking from just the children's perspective. I'm remembering you children, and I'm hoping that there are some young adults in that group of children that are going to watch this video. They might not be watching live right now, but I'm hoping some people will share this video, because I think it's also important for our children to have some awareness on the subject. Because when you think about it, they're the ones that get affected worst of all in that scenario, when husband and wife are bickering and fighting and physically abusing each other, verbally abusing each other, financially abusing each other, emotionally abusing each other, sexually abusing each other. The children are not blind to these things. They are not deaf to these things, and they are not emotionless to these things. They actually hurt, because the two most important people in their lives are damaging each other, are beating each other up, are sexually abusing each other up, emotionally, financially, you name it, doing this to each other in front of the children. Or maybe you think because they are in the next room, they don't hear it, they don't see it, they don't know it. But I'm here to actually tell you that they do. They hear it, they see it, they know it, they can sense it, and they, above all, they feel it, and they feel it worse, because it's almost like you're asking them to choose between the two of you. If husband is saying your mom is a useless this, if husband is beating up mom in front of the children, it's disrespecting that position that that mom or that dad has in the child's heart. Blood is thicker than water, as they say. So your children are born loving you, naturally loving you. And when you start doing these things to each other, you are hurting them. Emotionally, you are hurting them. Mentally, you are hurting them. Psychologically, you are hurting them. And by having them choose between the two of you, you are also isolating them. You are also kind of discriminating against them, because they're not getting the full benefit of both parents. And it's worse if you are staying in the same household and you're not getting along, you're not respecting each other, you are hurting each other. It's worse. So when I hear a woman saying, I'm staying in this relationship, I'm staying in this marriage because of my children, I think just how wrong it is. We have a culture as well that kind of stops or prevents or scares children away from expressing themselves about how they feel when they see these things, when they hear these things, when they sense these things, when they witness these things. We have that culture that says children don't question adults. So basically, you are putting your children in that position where they are watching something very painful and they can't even talk about it. They can't even express themselves about it. And when you're making that choice that I'm gonna stay for my children, and funny enough, a lot of women will say this out loud to their friends, to their sisters, to their moms, to their neighbor, to anybody who talks about this subject. They'll say, oh yeah, I'm staying for my children's sake. And half the time when they say it, they don't even look around to see if the children are there, if the children are listening or not. And you're actually saying, I'm staying here, I'm being battered and abused for your sake. And can you imagine the amount of guilt you pile on your children? And if they can't talk about it as well, can you imagine what's going on in their minds? They are thinking, I don't want you to be beaten up. I don't want to watch you being abused. I don't want to watch you being disrespected. And yet you are actually saying you are staying for my sake. How does that work, ladies and gentlemen? I think I've come on this live with the big message to both parents, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends. We all have children, whether we're married or not. We are. If you're a parent, I'm coming with a message to you. When you raise that hand on your partner, on your husband, or on your wife, when you throw that abusive word, when you give that partner a dismissive, a disrespectful look, ask yourself, how is my child feeling about this? I've always said, partners separating, husband and wife separating, boyfriend and girlfriend separating doesn't always have to mean that you can't be good parents to your children. But when you really think about it, it contributes to you being not a good parent. Because I've often heard some people saying, oh, my son or my daughter, or I had this one's daughter or son saying that I didn't ask to be born. I don't know why I'm being subjected to these things. I didn't ask to be born. And I think we've all always agreed that that is rude. That is a rude thing to say. But on reflection, I have been reflecting on this the last couple of days. On reflection, I think a child only ends up saying these things because they have been pushed into a corner where they can't express themselves, where they have to choose when they don't want to choose, where they have to pretend when they don't want to pretend, and the pressure mounts on. The pressure mounts on. The pain builds up, and they reach a point where they're thinking, why am I here? Why was I put on this earth to see these things, to experience these things? Why isn't anybody asking me how I feel? Why is somebody deciding that staying here is protecting me without asking me? How would you know that you're protecting your child? How would you know that you're doing your child a favor if you don't even ask him or her, or should I say them, how they feel about what's going on? Trust me today, I'm telling you. You may think you're hiding it well, but you're not. I think us as children, those that know my age, 47, as children, we were so blinkered, we were so conditioned, we were so protected or shielded from broadening our minds, from exploring our minds and our hearts and our feelings, to the point that we never questioned what we were told. But the reality today of the matter is, our children are going to schools. Our children are internationally being educated, which means they're being taught to broaden their minds. They're being taught to explore themselves, to explore their feelings, to explore their minds, their ideas, which means what you are exposing them to, whether it's good or bad, they are actually thinking about it. They are exploring their own views and feelings about it. And so when you say, I'm staying here for my children's sake, without having a conversation with them about it, you're actually lying about them. You're actually lying to yourself. You are staying there for a whole complete different reason. And I would suggest that you explore that reason. and make sure that it's good enough for you, and also above all, make sure that it's good enough and worth it for your child, for your children. I'm always saying that I taught my son to be open, to express himself, and I'm always saying sometimes it kind of puts me on the spot, because he has grown up to be exactly that, and he will do that. He will ask questions if he needs to. He will express his feelings if he feels he needs to, and he will question me if I'm doing questionable things. And at some point I was actually asked this question: when you defend my dad, do you think you're doing me a favor? I'm not blind to what's going on. I'm not blind to how he treats you, and I'm not blind to how it makes you feel. So when you cover up for this wasn't violence, by the way. It was a totally different thing. It was just somebody being absent. So he was basically saying, when you try to cover up for his absence, when you try to cover up for the things that he's not doing, I used to do some things that I thought he should have done. I'll do them and pretend that he had done it. And like I said, we think we are being very clever. We think our children are too young to understand or to notice or to observe, but they're not. Because he pulled me up one day and said to me, how long are you going to be covering up for my dad? Are you being paid to do it? And even if you're being paid to do it, do you think you're doing me a favor? I already know what kind of person he is. I already know what he does and what he doesn't do. And you trying to cover up, I keep looking at you, wondering, why do you keep stretching yourself that far? You do what you have to do as a mother. You do it, and you do it well, and I appreciate it. But you can't be my dad. You can try all your life, but you can never be my dad. And that's another thing I'm posing out there. Mothers, fathers, when you abuse each other and you end up splitting up, you can't replace each other. And you can't expect that if it feels good for you that you are now away from this person that's been abusing you, then your children feel the same way. And what am I saying then? What I'm saying is, find it in your heart to respect each other. Find it in your heart not to abuse each other. Find it in your heart to get rid of violence between the two of you. Sometimes violence is an indication of some underlying issues that have not been dealt with. Explore. Like I said, your children are being taught to explore themselves. It's never too late to do that. Explore yourself. Why am I behaving like this? Why am I doing this? Why am I so angry? Why do I find it so hard to control my anger? Why do I find it so hard to just keep quiet and diffuse an argument? Why do I always feel I have to win the argument? Why can't I be the better person and walk away from an argument that can escalate? And believe me, some of these situations have escalated and have taken lives. So ask yourself pertinent questions that will help you be the better person, rather than maybe sit there and expect the other person to be the one that will decide to be the better person. If you both do it, you will probably then both choose to be the better person. And what will happen? That episode of aggression, of violence, of abuse, of disrespect will then not happen. If your partner or your husband or your wife is not a good enough reason for you to avoid violence, let your children be the good reason that you stop yourself when you feel like punching somebody, punching your partner, kicking your partner, sexually abusing your partner, emotionally, financially, whichever form of violation you might have been inflicting on your other half. Let your children be reason enough for you to stop it. Because I'm telling you today, I'm not asking you, I'm not pondering about it, I'm not contemplating about it. I have done all that. I have spoken to many children actually, and they, over 80% of the times when you think you are hiding it well, they said you are not. They know. It's in your eyes, it's in the bruises, it's in your voice, it's in your avoidance of certain activities, avoidance of certain places, avoidance of certain words, even avoidance of certain times of the day, of the week, of the month, or of the year. They observe all these things. I was so shocked when I was talking to a group of youngsters, the stuff they came up with. They actually know. When you start talking this way, they know last night you were beaten up. When you are too quiet or too talkative, everybody is different. Or when you're avoiding certain things, they know. They know the signatures. They know the signs and the symptoms. Sometimes they even know it better than you, because you're so busy thinking you're perfecting your act of hiding these things from your children, when in actual fact you're not. The sad thing about this, why I've done this live, is these are some of the reasons why then they grow up to be abusive as well. They have seen it happen and they have seen it being tolerated, so they think it's okay. And if they don't think it's okay, they then think, well, I saw it happening and I've been bottling up all these emotions about it because as a child I was not allowed to express myself. Now I'm grown up, it all starts bubbling over and they have absolutely no control over it, which is why I mentioned earlier that sometimes aggression, sometimes abuse is actually all about underlying issues that were not dealt with. I'm a life coach, I'm a mindset coach specifically, and I can help people to untangle that web that may have been building up to this whole behavior. And on top of that, I have experienced it. I have experienced domestic violence, and it almost ruined me. It almost took my life. I was very lucky that I had the moment of bravery where I made a very tough decision and stepped out of it and embarked on a journey of recovery, which, mind you, was not easy, but was well worth it, because today I live my life as me. And if I get married tomorrow, I'm a whole person. I'm not the wreck that I was before. If somebody had married me a few years ago, they would have married a damaged person. And it probably would have been catastrophic for them, because they probably would have ended up paying for somebody else's sins. But that day and that moment of bravery that took me out of it has granted me a rare opportunity to deal with the situation and cleanse myself of the bitterness, of the anger, of the fear, of the self-defense stance that I was always in, of the bruised ego that I was always sitting on, and and all these things, they became ironed out, cleansed, and I'm a whole new person with a very open mind. I am always willing to explore things, ask myself questions, so that I don't deal with life on the basis of assumptions or conclusions. I make well-informed choices and decisions. And my responses to other people's comments, views, input are also then well-informed because I explore them as well. I love you guys, which is why I share these things. If you want to talk about any bit of what I've said today or what I've said in my past live videos, don't hesitate to contact me. My number is there. You can put a comment in the comment section for me to hook up. You can inbox me in my messenger. You can WhatsApp me. Whichever way you choose to communicate with me, I avail myself to you. What can I do for you? Let me know. They say a problem shared is a problem half solved. And sometimes when you're looking at the end result that you want from where you are, it might seem so far away, so far away and unreachable and impossible. But if you get the right nudge in the right direction, just that one step will show you just how close that possibility is. Have a blessed Monday. Have a productive week. Love always, and remember, God is there for all of us. God loves all of us. Whatever you've done in the past, whatever you're doing now, whatever you plan to do in the future, God loves you. And think about what you're doing. Does it make it easier for God to love you, or does it put him on the spot? Does he deserve to be put on the spot? Cheers. I'm having a ginger tea, homemade organic ginger tea, to keep my immunity system top notch. Take care, guys. Love you. And remember, please share this video. And I'm asking, share this video maybe with youngsters, teenagers, young adults who are thinking of getting into relationships, into marriages, and who might want to think about what I said. Don't step into a relationship or a marriage so that you can butter each other. Take time to get to know each other. Take time to build that bond of respect. Take time to love each other enough so you can love your children when they do arrive. Again, take care. Bye. And thanks for joining. Peace. I saw a few other people joining, but I couldn't see their names. Yeah, you can comment in the comment section. I'm going to keep this video on the platform, so share far and wide, and please let me know what you think of it. Contribute your input to it. It's all welcome. Thank you. Bye.